Commander Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship, looking out at the stars through the wide window. His hands were steady on the control panel, but his heart was beating fast. Today was the day humanity would meet aliens for the first time. "Sir, we're getting a signal," said Lieutenant Amy Foster from her station. "It's coming from that big ship ahead of us." Jake nodded and straightened his blue uniform. "Put it on screen." The main display flickered and showed a creature that made Jake's breath catch. It looked like a giant lizard walking on two legs, with yellow eyes and sharp teeth. When it spoke, the words came through their translation system. "Welcome, humans. I am Commander Zek of the Vextar Empire. We represent the Galactic Council. We have been waiting for you to join us." Jake stepped forward. "I'm Commander Morrison of the Earth Fleet. We're honored to meet you." The alien's mouth curved in what might have been a smile, but it didn't look friendly. "Follow our ships. The Council wishes to see what your species can offer." For 3 weeks, Jake's fleet followed the alien ships deeper into space. They visited amazing worlds with floating cities and met creatures made of living crystal called Zephyrians. The aliens showed them technology that seemed like magic. Ships that could travel between stars in seconds. Machines that could change the weather on entire planets. But something felt wrong to Jake. The aliens asked too many questions about Earth's weapons and defenses. They wanted to know how many people lived on each human colony. When Dr. Pete Williams demonstrated a new human invention that could heal wounds instantly, the aliens exchanged worried looks. "They're scared of us," Captain Lisa Hayes told Jake during a private meeting. She was the commander of the second largest ship in their fleet. "Did you see how they reacted when we showed them our quantum computers? They've never seen anything that fast." Jake rubbed his chin. "Humans have always been good at solving problems quickly. Maybe that's not normal out here." Their answer came during the formal meeting with the full Galactic Council. Jake and his officers sat in a huge room filled with representatives from 12 different alien species. The Vextar leader, Supreme Commander Thek, stood at the center. "We have studied your species for these past weeks," Thek announced. "You advance too quickly. You adapt too well. In 50 years you will surpass us all." A crystalline Zephyrian spoke next, its voice like wind chimes. "Your people show leadership abilities that disrupt natural order. Other species follow you." Instinctively, Jake felt cold fear in his stomach. "We only want to be friends. We can help each other." "That is the problem," said a creature that looked like a giant sea slug. "You help too well. You make others want to be like you. This threatens the stability we have maintained for thousands of years." Supreme Commander Thek stepped closer. "The Council has decided. Humanity is declared a dangerous anomaly. You must be contained." The attack came without warning. Jake's ships were surrounded by hundreds of alien vessels. Their weapons were more advanced than anything humans had ever seen. The first blast tore through the shield of Jake's flagship. "All ships, emergency jump!" Jake shouted into his communicator. "Get back to Earth now." But when they reached Earth, the horror was already happening. Alien ships filled the sky above every human colony. Cities burned on the surface below. Jake watched in despair as evacuation ships fled the planet, packed with as many people as they could carry. Captain Lisa Hayes contacted him from her ship. "Jake, we need to go, now. Earth is lost." "How many people?" Jake asked, his voice breaking. "Maybe 1 billion got out. Maybe less." The human fleet scattered in all directions as alien ships chased them. Jake's group headed toward the edge of the galaxy, where the star maps showed empty space. Behind them, Earth grew smaller until it was just another dot of light. For months, they ran. The aliens seemed to be everywhere, hunting any human ship they could find. Jake's fleet met up with other survivor groups in the darkness between stars. Captain Tony Garcia had saved 3 colony ships. Admiral Kate Sullivan brought news that broke Jake's heart. "They're destroying everything," she reported during a secret meeting on Jake's ship. "Every human building, every piece of our technology. They want to erase us completely." "How many of us are left?" Jake asked. Kate's face was grim. "Maybe 10 million people total, scattered across 50 different fleets." Dr. Pete Williams spoke up from the corner of the room. The aliens made a mistake. They think they've beaten us, but they only made us desperate. Desperate humans are dangerous humans. Jake looked around the room at his officers. These people had lost everything, but their eyes still held fire. What are you suggesting, Doc? We disappear. We find empty worlds where they'll never look. We build new colonies in secret, and we get stronger. Captain Lisa Hayes nodded slowly. They'll think we're all dead or hiding like animals. They won't expect us to come back. Come back how? Asked Tony Garcia. They have weapons and ships we can't match. Dr. Williams smiled for the first time in months. Give me time, Tony. Give us all time. We humans are good at learning from our mistakes, and the aliens just taught us some very expensive lessons. Jake made his decision. We split up into smaller groups. Find worlds the aliens don't want. Places that are too cold, too hot, or too far away. We build new homes and we wait. Wait for what? Kate asked. Jake looked out at the stars through the window. Somewhere out there, the aliens were celebrating their victory. They thought humanity was finished. They had no idea what they had actually done. We wait until we're ready to show them what humans can really do when we put our minds to it. The fleet separated 3 days later. Jake watched the other ships disappear into the darkness, carrying the last hope of humanity to distant corners of the galaxy. The aliens thought they had won, but Jake knew better. Humans were not the type to stay down when knocked over. They were the type to get back up swinging. The galaxy had no idea what was coming. 500 years had passed since the Great Escape from Earth. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood in the command center of New Liberty, humanity's largest hidden colony. She was the great-great-granddaughter of the original Kate Sullivan who had fled Earth all those centuries ago. The family resemblance was strong, but this Kate had something her ancestor never did: absolute confidence. Show me the latest reports, she said to Colonel Ryan Brooks, her second in command. Ryan activated the holographic display that filled the center of the room. Images of dozens of hidden human worlds appeared, connected by glowing lines that showed secret trade routes. Population is now at 50 billion across 200 colonies, Ryan reported. Dr. Alex Turner's team finished the new quantum drive yesterday. We can now travel across the galaxy in 3 hours instead of 3 weeks. Kate nodded. The humans had not wasted their time in exile. Every year brought new discoveries, new inventions, new ways of doing things that the aliens had never imagined. They had learned from every piece of alien technology they had captured during their escape, then improved it beyond recognition. What about Maya Collins and her bioship project? See for yourself, Ryan said with a grin. Through the large window of the command center, Kate watched something impossible. A ship the size of a city was growing out of what looked like a giant flower. The vessel's hull pulsed gently, like it was breathing. As she watched, parts of the ship shifted and changed. Shape? It's alive? Kate asked in wonder. Not exactly, said Chief Engineer Maya Collins as she entered the room. It's a hybrid of human biotechnology and quantum engineering. The ship bonds with its pilot's nervous system. They think together, react together. It's faster and smarter than any metal ship could ever be. Kate had seen many amazing things in her lifetime, but this took her breath away. How many can we build? We've got 12 growing right now, Maya answered. Each one is different because they adapt to their pilot's personality. Captain Sam Rivera's ship is built for stealth and speed. Colonel Ben Foster's is designed for heavy combat. Ryan pulled up another display. We've also been keeping watch on the galaxy. The Galactic Council isn't doing well without us. The images showed alien worlds in chaos. Wars between species that had been peaceful for centuries. The Vextar Empire had grown cruel and greedy, taking whatever they wanted from smaller species. The crystalline Zephyrians had retreated to their homeworlds and refused to help anyone. They were using us, Kate realized. Human diplomacy was holding their alliance together. Without us, they're falling apart. Dr. Alex Turner entered the command center, carrying a small device that glowed with soft blue light. Admiral, I need to show you something important. He placed the device on the table. This is a healing generator. One of these can cure any Disease, repair any injury, even regrow lost body parts. But that's not the amazing part. Alex touched the device and it projected images into the air. I figured out how to clean poison from entire planets, how to restart dead stars, how to create food and water from nothing but air and rocks. Kate stared at the images. Alex, this technology could save billions of lives. That's the point, Alex said quietly. The aliens exiled us because they were afraid we'd outgrow them. Well, we have, but we didn't become conquerors. We became healers. Colonel Ryan Brooks brought up a new display. Admiral, there's something else. We've been intercepting alien communications. The oppressed species are starting to rebel against the Council. The display showed protests on dozens of worlds. Small species that had been pushed around for centuries were finally fighting back. But their primitive weapons were no match for Vextar battle fleets. They're being slaughtered, Kate said, her voice tight with anger. Maya Collins stepped forward. Admiral, my ships are ready. The pilots have been training for this their whole lives. Training for what? Kate asked. To go back, Ryan said simply. Admiral Tony Garcia has been developing the return protocol for 200 years. We're ready to help those people. Kate looked around the room at her officers. These were the best and brightest humans had to offer. They had technology that could reshape the galaxy, weapons that could destroy entire fleets, and the knowledge to heal worlds. But more importantly, they had something the aliens had lost long ago, the desire to help others. Contact all colony commanders, Kate ordered. Tell them it's time. Within hours, messages were flying between the hidden human worlds. Admiral Tony Garcia emerged from his secret base near the galactic core. Captain Lisa Hayes, now over 500 years old but kept young by human medical advances, activated her deep space monitoring stations. Dr. Nina Parker began loading hospital ships with enough medical supplies to treat entire planets. The plan was simple but brilliant. Humans would return to the galaxy not as conquerors but as mysterious helpers. They would aid the oppressed, heal the sick, and protect the weak. The aliens would know something was happening, but they wouldn't understand what until it was too late. Kate stood on the bridge of her flagship as it prepared for its first journey outside human space in 5 centuries. The ship was beautiful and terrible at the same time. Its living hull could repair itself instantly. Its weapons could disable enemy ships without killing anyone inside. Its medical bay could bring people back from the edge of death. Admiral, said Captain Sam Rivera over the communication system. All ships report ready. Kate took a deep breath. Humanity had spent 500 years preparing for this moment. They had learned patience, wisdom, and technologies beyond alien imagination. But most importantly, they had learned that true strength came from helping others, not hurting them. Begin Operation Homecoming, Kate commanded. Across the galaxy, human ships began to move. They were invisible to alien sensors, faster than alien ships and more advanced than anything the galaxy had ever seen. But they weren't coming to fight. They were coming to save everyone the aliens had abandoned. The silence was about to end and the galaxy would never be the same again. Captain Sam Rivera watched the damaged alien ship spinning helplessly through space. His vessel, the Whisper, hung nearby like a metallic ghost. The bioship's living hull rippled as it sensed his emotions, ready to act on his thoughts. Pirates. Got them good, said Lieutenant Jenny Walsh from her station. That's a Kalari trading vessel. 3 crew members all injured. Sam had been watching this part of space for weeks. The Vextar Empire had been allowing pirates to attack peaceful traders, then taking a cut of the stolen goods. It was exactly the kind of behavior that made Sam's blood boil. Bring them aboard, he ordered. Carefully. The Whisper extended tendrils of living metal that gently pulled the damaged Kalari ship into its cargo bay. The aliens inside were small, furry creatures with large eyes. They looked terrified as Sam and his team approached in their environmental suits. Please, one of the Kalari said through their translator. We have already lost everything. Do not hurt us. Sam removed his helmet, showing his human face. The Kalari gasped in shock. We're here to help, Sam said gently. My name is Sam Rivera. We're humans. The lead Kalari, who introduced himself as Keeper Zim, stared in disbelief. Humans, but humans are gone. The Council destroyed them long ago. The Council tried, Sam replied with a small smile. They didn't succeed. Dr. Nina Parker arrived with her medical team. She was young but brilliant, with hands that seemed to work magic. The healing devices she carried made soft humming sounds as they repaired the aliens' injuries in minutes. "This is impossible," whispered Keeper Zim, as a deep cut on his arm vanished completely. "The Council's best doctors could not do this," Nina smiled warmly. "We've learned a few things during our time away." Sam helped repair the Kalari ship using tools that seemed to bend reality. Metal flowed like water under his hands, reforming into perfect shapes. Computer systems that had been destroyed came back to life better than before. "Why are you helping us?" asked Keeper Zim. "Because it's the right thing to do," Sam answered. Within hours, the Kalari ship was better than new. Sam loaded it with food, medicine, and small devices that could purify water and generate power. "Take these to other traders," he told Keeper Zim. "Share them with anyone who needs help." "How can we repay you?" Zim asked. Sam's ship was already fading from view as its stealth systems activated. "Just remember that someone cared enough to help." Word spread through the underground trading networks like wildfire. Mysterious helpers appeared wherever the Council's forces caused suffering. When Vextar raiders attacked a small colony, strange ships arrived that disabled the attackers without firing a shot. When plague struck a refugee camp, doctors appeared with miracle cures. The aliens called them the Guardians because they seemed to guard the innocent. No one got a clear look at their faces or their ships. They appeared when needed and vanished like ghosts. Dr. Nina Parker established hidden medical stations throughout the Outer Rim territories. Her teams treated diseases that the Council said were incurable. They regrew lost limbs and healed minds broken by trauma. Most importantly, they treated everyone equally, regardless of species. "Ma'am," said Nurse Tommy Chen at one of the stations, "we've got incoming wounded from another pirate attack." Nina looked up from the patient she was treating. "How many?" 57. Mixed species. Some are in really bad shape." "Prep the emergency bay," Nina ordered. "And contact Captain Rivera. We might need an escort for the worst cases." The medical station looked like it was carved from a single piece of crystal, but it was actually grown using human biotechnology. It could expand or contract based on need, and its walls could produce any medical equipment required. As the wounded arrived, Nina's team worked with practiced efficiency. A Zephyrian child who had lost her leg watched in amazement as it grew back over the course of an hour. An elderly Draxi male wept as his failing heart was restored to perfect health. "Doctor," said the Zephyrian child in her crystal-clear voice, "are you angels?" Nina knelt beside the young alien. "No, sweetie, we're just people who want to help." Meanwhile, Captain Ben Foster was making his own kind of impression on the galaxy. His bioship Thunder was built for combat, but Ben preferred to solve problems without violence, sir, reported Sergeant Mike Stone from the weapons station. Vextar battlecruiser is demanding tribute from that farming colony below. Ben watched the scene through his ship's sensors. A massive alien warship hung over a peaceful planet, threatening to bombard the cities unless the inhabitants gave up half their food supplies. "Any civilians on that warship?" Ben asked. Mike checked his readings. "Negative, sir. All military crew." "Good." Ben smiled grimly. "Disable their ship. Make it embarrassing." The Thunder moved like a living thing, flowing through space rather than flying. Its weapons were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Instead of destroying the Vextar ship, they simply turned off all its systems. "What?" shouted the Vextar commander into his dead communicator. "What happened to my ship?" Ben's voice came through the alien's emergency speakers. "You're in the protection business, right? Well, this colony is under our protection now. Find somewhere else to steal from." The Vextar warship drifted helplessly, as smaller human ships appeared around it. They looked like mechanical angels, beautiful and terrible at the same time. "Who are you?" demanded the alien commander. "We're the people you thought you destroyed," Ben replied. We're back, and we're not happy about what you've been doing while we were gone. The reports reaching the Galactic Council grew more alarming. Each day, Supreme Commander Thek studied the intelligence reports with growing dread. They appear from nowhere, reported his aide. They use technology we don't understand, and they're helping our enemies. Thek's claws scraped against the metal of his desk. Are they human? We believe so, sir. But that's impossible. We destroyed humanity centuries ago. Apparently not, Thek growled. Send investigation fleets. Find them. But every time Council ships arrived at a location where the Guardians had been reported, they found only grateful aliens and empty space. The humans had learned patience during their exile. They struck quickly and vanished completely, leaving no trace except hope in the hearts of those they helped. Captain Sam Rivera met with the other human commanders at a secret location in deep space. Their ships formed a circle in the darkness, between stars. The Council is getting scared, reported Captain Emma Stone. They're pulling ships back from the outer territories to guard their core worlds. Good, said Admiral Kate Sullivan over the communication link. Fear will make them careless. How are the liberation efforts going? Ben Foster's image appeared on the shared display. 17 species have declared independence from the Council in the past month. The Kalari are leading a peaceful resistance movement. The Draxi have kicked all Vextar forces off their worlds. Sam nodded with satisfaction. The aliens are starting to remember what freedom feels like. Dr. Nina Parker joined the conversation. My medical teams are reporting the same thing everywhere. Species that have been oppressed for centuries are standing up for themselves. It's time for the next phase, Kate announced. The galaxy needs to know we're really back. Sam looked out at the stars through his ship's viewing port. Somewhere out there, the Galactic Council was preparing for war. They thought they were facing a small group of rebels with stolen technology. They had no idea they were about to meet humanity at its absolute best. Admiral Jake Morrison III stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching 50 human battle fleets decloak simultaneously across the galaxy. He was the great-grandson of the original Jake Morrison who had led humanity's first contact with the aliens. Like his ancestor, he carried the weight of his species' future on his shoulders. All fleets report ready, Admiral, said Captain Emma Stone from her position at the tactical station. Operation Thunder is a go. Jake nodded slowly. Today would change everything. Execute. Across 50 different star systems, human ships appeared as if from thin air. They hung in space like impossible works of art, their biomechanical hulls rippling with patterns of light. Each vessel was unique, grown rather than built, shaped by the personality of its pilot. The reaction was immediate and electric. Alien. Communication networks exploded with panicked messages. Emergency broadcasts filled every frequency as species throughout the galaxy realized the impossible had happened. By the void, whispered a Zephyrian trader as she watched a human dreadnought materialize near her ship. They're beautiful. On the Vextar homeworld, Supreme Commander Thek stared at the tactical display in his command center. Red warnings flashed everywhere as human ships appeared in systems that should have been impossible to reach. How many ships? He demanded. Over 3,000 confirmed, sir, his aide reported with a shaking voice. And they're all using technology we've never seen before. Captain Emma Stone guided her vessel, the Starlight, toward a massive space station where Vextar forces were holding political prisoners. The station's weapons opened fire immediately, but the energy beam simply passed through her ship as if it wasn't there. Phase shift complete, reported her navigator, Lieutenant Paul Davis. We're now existing slightly outside normal space. Their weapons can't touch us. Emma's ship flowed through the station's shields like water through a net. Once inside, she shifted back to normal space and extended tendrils of living metal that gently wrapped around the prison complex. Station Commander, she broadcasted, release the prisoners immediately. Never, came the angry reply. We will destroy them before we surrender. Emma sighed sadly. Computer, initiate sleep protocol for all Vextar personnel aboard this station. Soft blue light spread through the station's corridors. Within minutes, every Vextar soldier and officer was unconscious, completely unharmed but unable to fight. Human rescue teams moved through the station, freeing hundreds of political prisoners from dozens of different species. Meanwhile, Colonel Troy Alexander was demonstrating humanity's new capabilities in a more dramatic fashion. A massive asteroid was heading toward a populated planet, pushed by Vextar ships as a threat against a rebellious colony. "Sir," said his weapons officer, Sergeant Lisa Burton, "the asteroid is 12 miles wide. Impact in 30 minutes. Troy watched the approaching rock through his ship's sensors. His vessel, the Guardian, was only half a mile long, tiny compared to the asteroid. But size meant nothing when you understood the fundamental forces of the universe. "Target the asteroid's quantum structure," Troy ordered. "Prepare for molecular disassembly." The Guardian's main weapon wasn't a gun or a missile. It was a device that could convince matter to stop being matter. Troy fired a single shot and the asteroid simply ceased to exist, breaking down into harmless atoms that scattered like glittering dust. On the planet below, millions of aliens watched their salvation arrive in the form of impossible human technology. Dr. Alex Turner had an even more spectacular demonstration planned. He approached a world that had been poisoned by centuries of industrial waste. The oceans were black. With chemicals, the air was toxic, and nothing could grow in the contaminated soil. Beginning planetary restoration, Alex announced to his team aboard the science vessel New Hope. The ship descended into the planet's atmosphere and released millions of microscopic machines. The nanobots spread across the world like silver rain, breaking down toxins and rebuilding the ecosystem from the ground up. In 6 hours, poisoned oceans became crystal clear. Dead forests grew back to life. The air became breathable again. An entire world was healed as easily as a human doctor might treat a scraped knee. The aliens living on the planet wept as they breathed clean air for the first time in their lives. But the most important demonstration was happening at the edge of Vextar space, where Admiral Jake Morrison faced the Council's largest battle fleet. 5,000 alien warships surrounded his small group of human vessels. "Humans," broadcasted Supreme Commander Thek from his massive flagship, "you will surrender immediately or be destroyed." Jake opened a channel to all ships, human and alien, alike. "Commander Thek, you exiled us because you were afraid of what we might become. You were right to be afraid, but not for the reasons you thought." The human ships began to change. Their hulls flowed like liquid metal, expanding and reshaping themselves. Within minutes, each human vessel had grown to 10 times its original size. "We didn't become conquerors," Jake continued. "We became something far more dangerous to people, like you. We became everything you could never be." The alien fleet opened fire with everything they had. Thousands of energy beams, missiles, and exotic weapons struck the human ships. The weapons passed harmlessly through shield technology that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. "Our turn," Jake said quietly. The human ships returned fire, but their weapons didn't destroy. Instead, they simply turned off every alien vessel's systems. 5,000 warships drifted helplessly in space, their crews unharmed but completely powerless. "How?" whispered Thek into his dead communicator. Jake's voice reached him through the ship's emergency speakers. "We learned something during our exile, Thek. The universe has rules and we figured out how to rewrite them." Human medical ships approached the disabled alien vessels, offering aid to anyone who needed it. Many of the alien crews were shocked to discover that their enemies were trying to help them, rather than hurt them. On the Kalari homeworld, Keeper Zim led a celebration as news of humanity's return spread throughout the galaxy. The small, furry aliens danced in their streets, singing songs about the mysterious helpers who had finally revealed themselves. "The Guardians were humans all along," Zim told his children. "They saved us when no one else would." Similar celebrations erupted on hundreds of worlds. Species that had been oppressed for centuries suddenly saw hope for the first time. The galaxy's balance of power had shifted completely in the span of a single day. Back on the human flagship, Admiral Jake Morrison received reports from across the galaxy. Every human fleet had achieved its objectives without firing a single deadly shot. They had rescued prisoners, healed worlds, and disabled enemy forces, all while demonstrating technology that made alien science look primitive. "Sir," said Captain Emma Stone, "we're receiving surrender requests from 67 different systems." Jake nodded. "Accept them all. But make it clear that we're not here to rule anyone. We're here to free them." President Rachel Torres, leader of humanity's government in exile, prepared to address the galaxy from the secret capital world of New Earth. Her speech would be broadcast to every inhabited planet simultaneously. "People of the galaxy," she began, "we are humanity, and we have returned. Not as conquerors, but as liberators. Not to rule, but to serve. The age of oppression ends today." Supreme Commander Thek sat in his disabled flagship, watching his empire crumble around him. The humans had achieved in one day what he had thought impossible. They had rendered his entire military force helpless without killing a single person. "Sir," said his aide, "the humans are broadcasting on all frequencies. They're offering medical aid to our wounded and promising safe passage to any crew that wants to leave." Thek's claws scraped against his chair. 500 years ago, he had believed that destroying humanity was necessary to preserve galactic order. Now he realized that he had only delayed the inevitable. The humans were back, and they were everything the Council had feared they would become. Except they were also everything the galaxy had been waiting for without knowing it. The age of the Galactic Council was over. The age of humanity had begun. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood on the observation deck of the massive space station orbiting New Earth, watching the most important meeting in galactic history take place. Representatives from every known species filled the great hall below, but this wasn't a conquest, it was an invitation. "They're all here," said Colonel Ryan Brooks, joining her at the window. "Even the Vextar sent delegates." Kate nodded, watching as Supreme Commander Thek himself entered the hall. The proud alien leader looked older, his scales dulled by the weight of defeat. But he had come, which was more than many humans had expected. "Admiral Sullivan," came a familiar voice. She turned to see Captain Sam Rivera approaching, now promoted to Admiral himself. "President Torres is ready to begin." Kate made her way to the hall where President Rachel Torres stood at the center of a circular amphitheater. The design was intentional, with no head table or elevated positions. Everyone sat as equals. "Friends," Rachel began, her voice carrying to every corner of the vast space. "We gather today not to divide the galaxy, but to unite it, not to punish the past, but to build the future." Dr. Alex Turner activated a holographic display that filled the air above the assembled delegates. Images of planets appeared, some green and beautiful, others scarred by war and pollution. "This is what we offer," Alex said simply. "Healing." The display showed before and after images of worlds that human technology had restored. Dead planets brought back to life. Poisoned atmospheres cleaned in hours. Diseases that had plagued species for millennia completely eliminated. A young Zephyrian delegate stood up, her crystal body catching the light. "What do you want in return?" Rachel smiled warmly. "Nothing. That's the point." Murmurs of disbelief rippled through the assembly. Supreme Commander Thek's voice cut through the noise. "No species gives freely without expecting something back. What is your real purpose?" Admiral Jake Morrison III stepped forward. "Our purpose is simple, Commander Thek. We want to make sure that what happened to us never happens to anyone else." The hall fell silent as Jake continued. "You exiled us because you were afraid we would grow beyond your control. You were right. We did grow, but not in the way you expected." Jake activated another display showing human colonies throughout the galaxy. Beautiful cities that seemed to grow from the planets themselves. Ships that looked more like living creatures than machines. People of different species working together in harmony. "We grew in wisdom," Jake said. "We learned that true strength comes from lifting others up, not pushing them down." Dr. Nina Parker, now head of the Galactic Medical Corps, presented the next part of humanity's offer. "We can end hunger throughout the galaxy in 6 months. We can cure every known disease in a year. We can restore damaged worlds in days." The alien delegate stared at her in amazement. The elderly Draxi representative raised his hand. And what would you require from our species? Help us teach others, Nina answered. Share your knowledge, your cultures, your perspectives. We're offering technology, but we need wisdom from all of you to use it properly. Captain Emma Stone, now an ambassador, addressed the group next. The old Galactic Council ruled through fear and control. We propose something different. A federation where every species has an equal voice, where decisions are made together, where no one is forced to participate. Keeper Zim of the Kalari stood up excitedly. The humans have already proven their words with actions. They saved my people when no one else would help. Other delegates began to voice their agreement. Species after species stood to tell stories of human aid, human healing, human protection. The pattern was clear. Wherever humans appeared, life got better for everyone. Supreme Commander Thek finally spoke again. What about justice? What about those who oppressed others under the old system? The hall grew tense. Many species had suffered under Vextar rule. Many wanted revenge. President Rachel Torres walked over to stand directly in front of Thek. Commander, your people committed terrible crimes, but we believe in redemption, not revenge. She activated a personal display that showed a Vextar colony world. Your people are struggling with food shortages and disease outbreaks. Our medical teams are already there helping your citizens. Not because we've forgotten what you did, but because we choose to focus on who you could become. Thek's yellow eyes widened in shock. You're helping us, after everything we did to you? Yes, Rachel said simply. Because that's who we are. Dinyao, transformation began immediately. Species after species voted to join the new Galactic Federation. The Zephyrians offered their knowledge of crystal technology. The Draxi shared their expertise in agriculture. Even former enemies began working together on projects that would benefit everyone. Admiral Tony Garcia, now ancient but kept vital by human medicine, oversaw the establishment of the First Federation Academy. Students from every species would learn together, sharing knowledge and building friendships that would last lifetimes. Look at them, Tony said to Kate as they watched young beings from dozens of species working on a joint science project. A Vextar child helping a Kalari student with math. A Zephyrian teaching art to a human teenager. This is what the galaxy was supposed to be. Captain Lisa Hayes, the original survivor from humanity's first exile, had lived to see the galaxy's transformation. Now over 600 years old but appearing no more than 30 thanks to human medical advances, she commanded the first joint exploration fleet. Captain, reported her navigation officer, a young Draxi named Keeper Finn. We've reached the edge of the galaxy. Sensors are detecting other galaxies beyond. Lisa looked out at the infinite stars stretching into the distance. Plot a course for the nearest galaxy. It's time to see what other wonders are waiting out there. The exploration ship Unity began its journey beyond the known galaxy, carrying representatives from 20 different species. They were explorers, diplomats and scientists, working together to expand the boundaries of known space. Back on New Earth, Dr. Alex Turner was working on his greatest project yet. In a vast laboratory that stretched for miles underground, he and his team were preparing to attempt something that had never been done before. Are you sure this will work? Asked Dr. Maya Collins, watching as the massive machine powered up. Only one way to find out, Alex replied. He activated the device and reality seemed to bend around it. Initiating Universal Translator Protocol, the machine reached out across the galaxy with invisible energy, touching every inhabited world. Within minutes, every intelligent being in the galaxy could understand every other intelligent being, regardless of species or language. For the first time in galactic history, there were no communication barriers between species. A Vextar farmer could talk directly to a Zephyrian artist. A human child could chat with an elderly Draxi philosopher. The galaxy became truly united in a way that had never been possible before. 5 years after humanity's return, President Rachel Torres stood once again before the Galactic Assembly, but this time, the hall was twice as large and filled with representatives from species that had been discovered in distant corners of the galaxy. Friends, she said, looking out at the diverse crowd. When humanity first left Earth centuries ago, we thought we were going to join a galactic community. Instead, we found division, fear, and oppression. She paused, letting her words sink in. Today, we have built something better. Not a galactic council that rules through fear, but a galactic family that grows through love. The assembly erupted in applause, with beings from hundreds of species showing their approval in dozens of different ways. Some clapped, others glowed. Still others sang in harmonious tones. Admiral Jake Morrison III watched from the observation deck, now preparing for his own retirement. His grandson, Jake Morrison IV, stood beside him, ready to take on the family tradition of exploring the unknown. "Grandfather," young Jake asked, "do you think our ancestors would be proud of what we've accomplished?" Jake III smiled, thinking of the original Jake Morrison who had led humanity's first flight from Earth. "I think they'd be amazed. We didn't just survive exile. We used it to become something better than we ever could have been if we'd stayed home." On the planet below, human children played with alien children in parks that grew from living crystal and bioengineered plants. Former enemies worked side by side in research laboratories. Artists from different species collaborated on works of beauty that no single race could have imagined alone. The galaxy had become everything humanity had dreamed it could be when they first reached for the stars. It was a place where diversity was celebrated, where knowledge was shared freely, where every being had the chance to reach their full potential. Supreme Commander Thek, now just Citizen Thek, worked in one of the Federation's rehabilitation centers, helping former soldiers from all species learn to build rather than destroy. It was hard work, facing the consequences of his past actions, but he found peace in helping others avoid his mistakes. "The humans were right," he told a group of former Vexstar officers during one of their sessions. "Strength isn't about controlling others. It's about helping them become strong themselves." As the galaxy entered its new golden age, humanity continued to explore, to learn, and to grow. They had returned from exile not as the same,